roll these up. Makes me feel a little more like a professor. Alright, kids. Let's get started. Monty Hall was the first host of the incredibly successful game show, Let's Make a Deal. And this is his thought experiment. So you're on the game show, and Monty shows you 3 doors. Behind one of the doors is $1,000 in cash. Behind the other 2 is poo. For demonstration purposes, let's say you choose door number
1.
Door number 1.
Monty goes over to door number 3, opens it up to show you a big steaming pile of poo. Then he asks you, do you want to stay with your original choice or switch to door number 2? What do? Do you stick or do you switch? Do you think you chose the right one, so of course you're not going to switch? Do you think it's a 50-50 chance, so it doesn't even matter? Have you heard this before and think it's completely silly? Make your decision and pay attention to the thoughts you're having about it, because we're going to come back to that later. Okay, good. Now, mathematically, you should always switch. You are always twice as likely to win if you switch. Let's take a closer look. I don't know what I'm going to put there yet. At the beginning, we have no idea where the cash is. It could be behind any door. So choosing at random, we have a 1 in 3 chance of guessing correctly. Now, when Monty Hall opens one of the doors, he knows where the cash is. He's not going to open the door with the cash behind it, because that wouldn't be theatrical at all. We've chosen door number 1, and he opens door number 3. Here's where everybody gets hung up. It would make sense that it's down to 50-50 at this point, but it's not. It's all based on which situation is more likely. You having guessed correctly where the cash was the first time, or the cash being behind one of the other 2 doors. 1/3 of the time you will guess it correctly, and switching will result in you winning a pile of poo. But 2/3 of the time, it will be behind one of the doors you didn't choose at the beginning. When Monty opens one of the poo doors, and we operate under the assumption that we had it wrong the first time, statistically we did, we now know which door is most likely to have the cash behind it. 2/3 of the time, it works every time. If you still think it's 50-50, let me explain it like this. Imagine instead of 3, there are 100 doors. You now have a 1 in 100 chance of guessing correctly the first time. You choose your door at random, and Monty opens all the other doors except for 1. Now tell me, is it more likely that you guessed correctly which door the cash was behind, or that it was behind the door Monty left closed? This is a fascinating thought experiment and a frustrating dinner party topic, but it's not really what I wanted to talk about today. I'd like you for a moment to look back at how you thought about the Monty Hall experiment at the beginning of this video, before you heard it all explained. Take a look at that snapshot and compare it to what you think now. Has your perspective changed at all? Did you think it was 50-50? Had you heard it when you watched 21 but didn't really understand it? Are you actively shouting at the computer screen as it hurtles toward the ground? I'm hoping that your perspective has changed slightly. I'm hoping that you view it now as a little more complex. And here's the thing, that complexity was always there. Now with this tiny little shift in perspective, a little bit of guidance, a little bit of explanation, we bring this entire new world into focus that was there all along, and we just never had the access. This gentle shift in perspective to show a secret rabbit hole is something that really just makes me tick. Whether it's showing people that there's unexpected depth in human interaction and rationalization, or learning a new skill, this complexity exists outside of our knowledge. I'll give a couple examples. The easiest one I can think of is this. The screen that you're watching this on. There's so many things happening outside of our knowledge. Hours of writing and rewriting. This much footage cut down to this much footage, with hours of editing and title making, all so that they can be uploaded to a server run by Google and translated into 1s and 0s, so that your phone or computer can decode those 1s and 0s into this stream of red, green, and blue lines or dots that make up the image. And that's not even mentioning the syncing up of sound into 1s and 0s, and there's a lot going on. Behind the scenes videos can give you a tiny glimpse of all of the things happening beneath the surface. And they can deepen your experience of a movie or a show or a YouTube video. But it's not just with thought experiments and storytelling that this happens. Take a moment right now to look around wherever you are and notice all of the things that are yellow. If you run out of things, look a little bit closer, and you might notice something that you initially missed on your first inspection. Maybe something has a hint of yellow, or it's just outside. Your brain is constantly filtering out things that it deems unimportant, and this causes us to miss out on this abundance of yellow. All these colors are there, we just haven't learned to see them. We all view the world through our own individual, unique lens. That lens is shaped by our experiences, the conversations we have, the books we read, the videos we watch on YouTube. We all tend to look around us and see one solid, clear image of the world. We usually see something as being a solid surface, but with a little bit of effort, we can shift our perspective. We can change our lens and see that in reality, there is so much depth to be seen in surfaces.
Everything is awesome. Everything is...
I can only use 4 seconds before getting sued. See you next week.